everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about bite training and how to use positive reinforcement techniques to help you with your bite training. Anyways, Howl and I are here to help educate you guys on how to train your ferret not to bite anymore. And as he bites my glasses, you know, how to train your ferret in a very effective manner where he won't bite you. And I'll go over a little bit of what the table of contents looks like for this video. So the first part is going to be talking about the 8 methods of changing behavior, and then what materials you're going to need for this training method, how to implement it, the results. The 8 methods of changing behavior I got from Karen Pryor's website. At my workplace, we do a lot of positive reinforcement training with our dogs, so I'm very familiar with her methods, positive reinforcement, all that great stuff. So she sort of created an article about the 8 methods of changing behavior that we often use as human beings on our animals, whether it be dogs, cats, horses, pigs, ferrets, you know, anything like that. And I want to talk about each method and how they can be utilized with a ferret, why they are bad, why they shouldn't be used, or why they should be used. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so method number 1 and 2 are very commonly used and it sucks. So method number 1 is just shooting the animal, it's called. So just get rid of the animal. You know, if they're biting you, if they're showing you a behavior that you really don't want them to, they're chewing up furniture, they're escaping, just get rid of the animal. You know, it's the easiest, fastest method of removing this unwanted behavior. You know, just rehome them, put them up for sale, get them out of here. And it sucks. Like, so many people have this mentality, you know. The minute that the animal does something wrong, and it's an animal, it can't understand you, it doesn't know what you want, you know. It doesn't naturally think, oh, maybe I shouldn't chew up the couch. You know, maybe this makes my owner really upset. Like, they don't think like that all the time, and you have to train them to start thinking like that. And even then, you know, their brains don't work like ours. And a lot of people don't understand that for whatever reason. So a lot of people with ferrets, let's say the mom goes to the pet store, sees the ferrets, the kid's like, oh, mom, I really want a ferret, I want a sticky rat. And they're like, oh, okay, Johnny boy, I'll get you, you know, a ferret, even though I have no idea how to take care of one. And I'm honestly going to be the one who ends up taking care of this animal because you're 6 years old, Tommy boy, you can't take care of a ferret, but you know what? Oh well, because I love you and I'm going to do whatever you want. So they get this ferret, right? It's a kit, you know, usually when you go to the pet store, they're babies, which that's the time where they bite a lot and they're not super socialized because of the pet stores. You kind of have to do that with them. But a lot of parents, you know, they buy the ferret. Oh no, the ferret bit Tommy boy. Now we have to get rid of it because I didn't know that ferrets, you know, bite people and it hurts and they bleed. Number 2 as well, this is super popular, like you guys have no idea, and it's punishment. It's simply just punishment. A lot of people, me included, when I got into ferret owning and all that great stuff, I would read about all the time. Oh, when a ferret bites or does anything bad, you put them in timeout, you scruff them, you yell at them no, or you flick their face. Like, for some reason, this is thought of to be okay. Like, just literally taking your ferret and flicking them on the face. And keep in mind, they are super sensitive, super tiny creatures. Like, I don't know who thought it would be a good idea to just flick them in the face right in between their eyes. Like, whoa, like, hold out there. Like, what? You know, you don't see people going around saying, oh, you know, your dog does something bad, you know, you hit him in the face, so you flick him on the eyeballs, you know, like, whoa. I fell into this trap in the beginning as well. So when I had Pazu as a kit and he was biting, he was being really bad, he was trying to escape, he was doing all these bad things, I thought, oh, you know, scruff him, no, put him in timeout. Take him out of timeout. A couple minutes later, he goes and he does it again. He did it again and again and again. I started feeling guilty. I started feeling like he didn't like me anymore because he was upset with me, and understandably so. I'm like scruffing him, yelling at his face, and putting him in timeout. Like, he doesn't understand why I'm doing that, you know? He's just a little guy. He doesn't understand. Number 3 is also incredibly used, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not something that I like to use and not something that positive reinforcement trainers like to use. We like to use positive reinforcement. But anyway, so it's called negative reinforcement. So this is the most traditional and conventional way of going about training, and people use it with everything. Kids, horses especially, dogs, anything. This is how it helped me really understand what negative reinforcement is when you bring your kid to the grocery store and they say, oh mom, I want this candy bar, I want this candy bar, and they start throwing this huge tantrum, they start screaming, yelling, crying in the middle of the store, and then you give in, and the parent gives in. So basically what happens there is the kid is reinforced by getting the candy bar, so his screaming, crying behavior was reinforced, and the parent was also reinforced because they will no longer be embarrassed or humiliated because their kid's screaming in the store, but it's all negatively, you know, it's you're rewarding the bad behavior, pretty much, so yes, they get reinforced for giving in to their kid because they avoid feeling embarrassed, and the behavior is gone. So number 4 is pretty simple. It's called extinction. So basically you just do nothing. So you just wait and hope that, oh, the animal's gonna grow out of it, but it's not super effective when you have a ferret. Like with puppies, you know, like, oh, they all get nippy, you know, when they're little, but they tend to grow out of it, you know, that's kind of like that same mentality. But it doesn't really work for ferrets because even when they go through adulthood not knowing, oh, biting is bad, they're gonna keep biting most likely. So I just don't like relying on that thought of, oh, they'll probably grow out of it, because that might not happen, you know, you don't know how your ferret's going to turn out to be. Number 5 is pretty self-explanatory, and that's train an incompatible behavior. I don't know how this would work with a ferret and their biting. The example I was given was like, oh, if you have a show dog and they're constantly sniffing the ground when their nose needs to be up in the air so they can be properly judged, oh, you know, train them to keep their nose up in the air kind of thing, you know, you're training an incompatible behavior so they no longer put their nose to the ground. But I don't really know how this would work with ferrets. Number 6 is pretty interesting, and that's put the behavior on a cue. So put the unwanted behavior on a cue and then just never give that cue, which I thought was pretty clever. I've never thought of this before. So like, let's say your dog has a really hard time with greeting people, they jump up, they jump, and you don't want them to do this anymore, so let's say you train them to actually jump on people on command and then just never give the command. But again, I don't think that this would be super effective like all the time. I don't know. I wouldn't trust this method with ferrets personally, but I thought it was really fascinating. Okay, so number 7 is what I do and what I hope that you guys do after this video, and that is shaping the absence of behavior, meaning you are rewarding the ferret for not biting, or you're just rewarding the absence of the bad behavior. That's something that we will talk more about later after this section. Anyways, so the last method is just changing the motivations, so identifying what you can reinforce that would replace the bad behavior. I'm not going to go much into it because I don't know how it would work with the ferrets, but keep that in mind, that's also something that a lot of people do. So next section is just a brief little talk about if we need to train ferrets differently than cats and dogs, and it's a really good question because we really don't. And even though, you know, you have a huge dog, the same training methods still can apply to your tiny ferret. I want to say like the only real difference between dogs and ferrets when it comes to training is just obviously the types of commands that would be easier for a dog, of course, like that's kind of like a no-brainer, but the kinds of rewards that you would use might be different. A lot of ferrets don't like treats. If you have ferrets that can eat raw meat, they really like usually cut up chicken hearts, gizzards, and you can just get like beef chunks at the store that are already pre-cut and then just cut them even smaller. That way you can have like tiny little slivers of meat, or again, you can just use praise or other things that I will go ahead and talk about now. So what you're going to need for this training method is a very short list of items. So you're going to need 2 things, and 1 is your ferret and 2 is your toys. So get like their favorite toys. I recommend really small toys, something that's really easy for them to get their mouth on, away from your hand. Something just small, easy to hold, and easy for the ferrets to bite onto. Something that they like. Even you could just buy a new toy so that way they're super motivated because, you know, you have this new object and they're really fascinated with it and they want to, you know, touch it and play with it. Anyways, So it's important to recognize when your ferret likes to bite. Usually a ferret will give you a warning sign before they bite. For example, my boys get a little excited and nippy when I get out of the shower and I have water on my legs, or if I move too fast, or if I'm folding laundry next to Howl in particular. He will go into bite mode, and he will always make the same sound every time before he's about to bite, and it sounds like it's like really sharp, short breaths, and a lot of ferrets actually do this. It's good to recognize these things because you can possibly avoid them from even ever happening. Like, let's say your ferret only bites you when you're moving around too fast. Well, then just don't move around too fast around your ferrets. You know, that in conjunction with the positive reinforcement training will usually, hopefully give you a successful result. Here are the steps on how you can implement this. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to engage your ferret in play. So you're going to want to do this when he actually wants to play with you. Don't grab him right out of his cage when he's sleeping. He'll be irritable. You don't want to do that. You want it to be a completely positive and happy experience for your ferrets. Number two is just like a general thing to remember. Try not to play too much with your hands with your ferrets if they are going through training. I used a small blue bone that was meant for like little dogs, and it worked super well for me. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to play with him, get him really nice and riled up, and if he starts to bite, or if he bites, or if he's showing you the behavior that he does before he bites, take the toy and put it in front of his face. So before you were playing with him, let's say you were just like using like a wand or something and was getting all riled up, and you know how they bounce around, and they'll get to you and they'll run away and they'll come back. That's usually when they like try to bite you. So what you're going to want to do is take the toy, put it in front of their face. This is why you want a small, easy to bite toy for their mouths, and hopefully what you want is they will redirect their energy and the behavior onto the toy instead, so you don't get hurt. So this is what we want, and if they do that, you're going to want to reinforce the behavior by continuing play with them, telling them that they're good, maybe a little neck scratch, continuing the interaction, because your ferrets love to play with you. They love your attention. That's what they want. So let's say you're walking through your house and you don't have a toy and your ferret runs up to you and bites. You're not going to want to retreat and go get a toy and run back and start playing, because then that reinforces the biting behavior, and then your ferret learns, oh, if I run and I bite my human, he's going to go get a toy for me and play with me. They're very, very clever and very smart, so they will catch up. They will catch on that. So what you're going to want to do instead is just simply remove yourself from the situation. You're removing the stimulus from the ferret so they won't bite, and you'll keep yourself safe. So yeah, that's really all you can do in that situation. So you're going to want to continue this practice every single day, multiple times a day, and it took Pazu 2 weeks to stop biting completely. I can trust him with an infant. He is amazing, amazing, amazing. Howl, on the other hand, because he was in the store a lot longer than Pazu, he's quite behind when it comes to his training, so he's still learning, and he still struggles and has his moments where he will bite. Sorry, someone's scratching at my door. So basically the goal of this is to teach your ferrets that your skin is not a toy, and biting your skin, or biting their human skin, is not going to grant them any sort of reaction or result. But instead, if they bite the toy and they play with the toy and the human, they will continue to get this interaction that they enjoy. They'll continue to be able to play with you, and they get your attention. And usually it works. It's just, it can be time consuming, and you just need to be patient and consistent. But once you are consistent and once they complete their training, odds are they probably won't bite again. And if they do, it's just because they're super provoked and you weren't paying attention, So I really, really hope that you guys consider this method when you get your ferrets, or when you're approaching bite training with them. You don't want to train your ferret to fear you, You don't want to train through fear. You don't want your ferret to not enjoy interacting with you. You want everything to be a positive experience. Well, at least I hope you do. Not a lot of people have that mindset, unfortunately, and I'm super happy that you clicked on this video, because that's a huge start. And if you are one of those people who've been scruffing and saying no and it has been working, don't beat yourself up about it. You're not a bad person. Your ferret's feelings aren't super hurt by it. You can always mend things and try something new and get a really good result, and therefore having a fulfilling and loving relationship with your ferrets. That's all I want for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it and putting it together. Again, I will have my sources and other great resources in the description of this video, and I hope you check them out. I hope that you comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed and you want to see more ferret content. And if you have any video ideas, anything at all, feel free to comment below and I will consider all of them and I will be reading all comments, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But as always, I will see you guys in my next video, and I hope you had a great weekend. Bye!